John, you've got behind you a sign that says "Fly, Eagles, Fly." So how about if we start here? Where is the Philadelphia Eagles going with pick number 10? Because I feel like they're one of the more intriguing teams in the draft. They could maybe make a trade up/down. They could be trying to be able to get a little bit of a luxury item here to be able to bolster things. What do you think is going to happen with the Philadelphia Eagles? Because I do think that they're one of the bigger unknowns when it comes to the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, it really could kind of go anywhere because shout out to Howie Roseman again. We were talking off air, and I said, you know what? I feel like an idiot for how many times I said Howie Roseman needs to be fired. Meanwhile, they won the NFC Championship, and they're picking number 10, and they still have like $15 million in cap space after signing Jalen Hurts, their franchise quarterback. So shout out to Howie. Yeah, I mean, if you look at historically, they love going in the trenches, right? Like they love getting good offensive linemen, good defensive linemen. They don't have a ton of like glaring needs. I guess you could say defensive tackle because they lost Javon Hargrave. They're always looking for more pass rushers. They have Hassan Reddick, but I think they would like to get another outside rusher here in the draft. So if you're looking at the odds, I for me in my mock draft, I had them taking Nolan Smith, the guy who I think they are interested in. But if you're looking for a trade up scenario, I do think they love Jalen Carter. So I think if Jalen Carter gets past the Seahawks at 5, I think the Eagles certainly could trade up and make a move there. I don't see them, the Bijan stuff. I just don't see it. Again, last time the Eagles drafted a running back in the first round, you have to go back to 1986, Keith Byers. So maybe they draft a running back at 30, or maybe if Bijan slips again, I would be excited to have him on the team. They just don't seem to value running backs that much. I mean, Miles Sanders coming off a career year, and they never once considered re-signing him. So I would be surprised. And certainly if you're talking about betting, the value seems to be completely gone for running back. I still think there is some value there on D line. If you got it earlier at like plus 200, I think that obviously makes a ton of sense. The other one that is getting some traction is offensive lineman. So if the number one offensive lineman's there, they could do that, but I don't think they love Skoronski, and then Paris Johnson. We'll see. I think Paris Johnson will be gone by the time they pick a 10, and I don't think they're going to trade up for him. So again, Nolan Smith is my official pick, but then Jalen Carter, I think, is in the mix if they're looking to trade up. Long shot though, and we gave it out. We gave out some long shot bets on the Sports Gambling Podcast. Did give out Eagles to draft a receiver first at 50-1. There's been some reports linking them to Smith and Jigba of Ohio State there, and it knocked the price down to 10-1. So I think Smith and Jigba you can get even a little bit later than 10, and they always love adding on to the passing game. So that's my full breakdown. But ultimately, I do think Nolan Smith would be my pick.
And Nolan Smith currently at DraftKings to go number 10 overall. He is at 5-1, and I'm so glad that you were bringing up Bijan Robinson because a lot of mock drafts think that he is not going to be there at number 10. A lot of people are thinking that he goes number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons. As a matter of fact, odds be the number 8 overall pick at DraftKings. Bijan Robinson is the favorite at plus $2. Ironically enough, Nolan Smith, he's number 2 at plus 250. What do you think of the team that we've been seeing with Bijan Robinson? Because I think that he slips past 8 because the Atlanta Falcons, they just have so many holes that they need to fill that a running back one that was not necessarily the worst position. It's not a place where I'd be looking to go. And just in this day and age of the NFL, I just don't think that teams value the running back as much as many people are starting to lead on that they might be valuing Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I hear you. And I always go back and forth because in my head, I'm like, oh, it'd be crazy to draft Bijan Robinson. You don't need a running back at 8. You have so many other needs. But then it's tough because you have to ultimately, when you're betting these things, bet on what you think the team will actually do and not probably what they should do, which is tough because some of these, sometimes the GM's in charge, sometimes the owners, overrules them. And that's what's kind of the fun and intrigue. In my mock draft, I did actually have the Falcons taking Bijan Robinson there. And I agree. I wouldn't do it, but I put him there because I do think Arthur Smith, you saw his success in Tennessee came when they had a guy that they could run the offense through at the running back position in Derrick Henry. Obviously, Bijan Robinson, a completely different runner, but the Falcons have shown they're not afraid to, use a skill position player in the top 10. I mean, they took Kyle Pitts as a top 10 pick. So I think most teams don't value the running back that much, but I could see the Atlanta Falcons talking themselves into Bijan Robinson. I don't think at that price it makes sense. I would try some of the longer shot stuff. But yeah, I as far as like betting it, I would maybe bet the slide or try and find him matching to a team with some higher odds. Cause at 2-1, I don't see that being like a great betting value.
Yeah, this has been completely steamed up, and what has been causing a lot of steam is apparently Reddit. The Greg Peterson Experience on VSiN, I don't think has been trending on Reddit. I do not utilize Reddit myself, so I would not know, but I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous what we've been seeing with this Will Levis team. He's now 4-1 to be the number one overall pick. CJ Stroud is all the way down to 18-1, but we've been seeing Will Levis get steamed up due to Reddit. I'm wondering what's going to be coming next. Maybe we're going to be seeing a comeback of like Tumblr. I think that they should utilize MySpace. I remember that from when I was a kid. So throw out all the stops to be able to utilize NFL draft knowledge. But what do you make out of everything that's been happening with Will Levis and just the way that people are getting information for the NFL draft? Because I understand following like mock drafts, Twitter, what have you, but Reddit is a new one for me.
Yeah, I mean, there are some good sources of information on Reddit. A lot of it is like aggregated. It's like a collection of links.
A lot of it is like beer reviews and things like that.
Yeah. So maybe you would go viral on Reddit. Get some of your beer reviews.
Yeah.
I actually did a deep dive into the guy's account, and the guy just created this account. This is his only post. And in my head, I'm like, oh man. As much as I'm like, oh, this is stupid and silly, and he has no evidence or credibility. He just says like, trust me, I know I'm friends with Will Levis.
Trust me.
Yeah, dude, trust me. In my head, I'm jealous because I put a note in my calendar. Hey, 1 year from now, sign up for a Reddit account and create some crazy rumor to drastically shift these betting markets. It's insane. And these sports books don't really believe it because all they've done really is just adjust Will Levis's price. Like Bryce Young's price is still -1,000, -800. Like they moved it down a little bit, but it shows they don't really believe it. But at 40-1, they just took so much money they had to knock it down to like 4-1. Again, I don't see it. I still think they're Bryce Young all the way. I think ultimately Will Levis ends up with the Indianapolis Colts. It certainly would be shocking if he goes number one overall. And you certainly shouldn't bet it at 4-1. That would be unless you are Will Levis. There was a clip, Thor, who is like a college football guy. He found a little soundbite of McCown, the QB coach or offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers, giving Will Levis a pat on the back and saying, "Hey, see you in Carolina." And he goes, "Is this what he thinks is them telling him he's going number one?" Because I guess according to him, they said that to all the top 4 prospects they saw. Just kind of like, "Hey, good luck. We'll see you in Carolina." So maybe he misunderstood that. I don't know. All I know is he's got me hooked on this delicious Mayo coffee. I'm gonna have a little bit here.
I was about to say, as you pick up your Sports Gambling Podcast Network mug to take a sip of the coffee, maybe the Carolina Panthers brass are very much into the Mayo coffee. They have been turned on to it. And as a result, they're thinking, this man is a genius. He now needs to be our quarterback. Who else would have thought of Mayo coffee, which personally I think would be relatively disgusting. I drink like knockoff 5-hour energy shots in order to get through this show and everything like that. I am not much of a coffee guy. I am not going to put mayo in that shot as well, but you, sir, give me a shot of energy. Sean, you do absolutely tremendous work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and your insights are always appreciated. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Greg. Enjoy the draft.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.